Good evening, family. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining once again. I want to encourage you, if you weren't able to watch our morning devotional for Miracles in October, please go back. We're talking about the burning bush, the miracle of the burning bush, and we explained some things about the burning bush. So now I want to get into part two of the burning bush. And what we basically talked about was Exodus chapter 3, verses 1 through 6, Moses' encounter with the burning bush. And what happens is Moses comes, and as he approaches the bush, and his name is being called from the bush, Moses, Moses. And Moses responds, "Here I'm here." And then God says, "Take off your sandals, for the place on which you stand is holy ground." Take off your sandals for the place, take off your shoes, the place that you stand is holy ground. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about holy ground. As we discovered in part one this morning, was that bushes are the things that you and I think about in ways that a bush is insignificant. A bush is, it's the thing that we walk past. It's the thing that we don't notice. It's the thing that we're not drawn to. It's the thing that we say there's no real value. It's not that important. There's nothing revelatory about a bush. And yet, God chooses for his first time that he's going to reveal, to bring revelation to Moses, to let Moses know, I have an assignment for you. God decides to use a bush, something that seems insignificant and small, and yet it becomes a moment of revelation for the life of Moses, and his life would never be the same after an encounter with a bush. And this is why we talked about what are the bushes in your life that you and I walk past that we think are insignificant. But what's beautiful is God says, take off your sandals, for the place on which you stand is holy ground. And when you finish the rest of this particular story, the author, Moses, never finishes the story with God saying, now put your sandals back on. Stay with me. He never says, put your sandals back on. All it says is, take off your sandals, for the place on which you stand is holy ground. And Moses never puts his sandals back on in this particular context. Why? Because now everywhere that Moses steps is holy ground. Everywhere he steps, hey, take off your sandals. Why? Because God is in this place, and you're standing before God. This place is holy ground. He never puts them back on as if to kind of symbolize, as if to give us a little bit of insight to say that now, no, everywhere you go, Moses, it's holy ground. Why? Because God is with you. Because God is with you. And not only is God with you, but God wants you to recognize that even a place that seems insignificant and small, it's just a burning bush. It's just dirt. You're on the mountain. You're with sheep. How is it that this place is holy? Because you and I often think that holy places are, it's like when I go to church, that's the holy place, right? Like the pulpit, that's the holy place. Going into prayer, that's the holy place. And yet Moses is just living his day. It's another normal day. It seems like another mundane day. It doesn't seem all that significant. And yet God wants Moses to recognize, no, every day is significant. And even places where it's just the side of a mountain, where you're just tending to some sheep, where you just run into a bush, God is saying, no, this moment is holy. This place is holy. This dirt, this ground is holy. Why? Because I'm here. And once again, the question, is it possible then that what God is trying to do is he's trying to teach Moses? It's almost like a rewiring of the way you and I perceive the world around us. Maybe God is letting Moses know and letting us know it's all holy. Why? How can a bush be holy? How can this ground be holy? How can this moment be holy? It's nothing, God. But maybe it is, and here's why. Because you and I lived on this planet. We live on this planet called Earth, and guess what? It's God's craftsmanship. It is God's art displayed for you and for me. God created the heavens and the earth and everything that we see, and even the things that we don't see. God created it. This planet, this earth, the mountains, the birds, the ocean, when you go out to the desert, everything is an expression of God's artistic and creative side. And it has been touched by God because it literally came from the mouth of God. God spoke, and then this world came into existence. And if God is holy, then that means his words are holy. So if he spoke this world into existence by his word, by the word of his mouth, and what he spoke, it came into being, then the thing that came into being has to be holy as well, because it's God who created it. So what if in this narrative, in the life of Moses, when he has an encounter with a bush, the things that you and I passed, what if God is trying to let you and I understand? He wants us to see that, gosh, everywhere you go, Josh, is holy ground, right? I want you to start treating it like it is. Can you imagine if we walked around and we're like, this place is holy? We'd act different. We'd treat our planet differently. We treat the animals differently. We treat the bush differently, right? We're like, no, this is holy. This is God's artwork on display for us. It is revealing the beauty and the creative power of our God, and you and I get to experience it. If you go to an art gallery, you go to an art show, you look at that art, and people are in awe, and they pay a lot of money for art pieces. And people are like, wow, that's amazing. And there's this kind of, you honor it. There's this quote unquote holiness about it. It's like, don't touch it, don't mess with it, don't ruin it. Just kind of appreciate the art. Buy it if you want, How much more from our God, who spoke this world into existence, who created the mountain, who created the bush and the tree and the rivers and all the different species of life on earth. It's God. And like I said, maybe God wants you and I to come to a place in our life where we start seeing it's all holy because God is here. God made it. God spoke it into existence. And now, everywhere we go, it's holy because God is with us and also because God created it. Family, think about that as you go about your weekend. What are the places in your life that God is saying, hey, this is holy ground, and I want you to start living differently. I want you to start seeing your surroundings, your environment differently, because I'm